121 for one unit.
For what?
Taking that number, you said 1872? Number of
1788, 1,788 connections? You want the average number of units, or what are you trying to get?
You're saying, all right, if you don't mind, the first number you said is the connections to what?
Number of connections, number of customers.
Okay.
And with the different units that are assigned to each one for a single family home, two
Oh,
for a single.
I'm sorry, okay.
And commercial,
So the unit is the
whole number of those units that are assigned.
2,871.
Yes. So you would take that debt service charge on an annual basis and divide it by 2,871 and come up with the annual charge per unit.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't find that right now,
That's
but
okay.
I did do that while I was looking through everything. Okay, so it just, yeah, in summary, that's where it is. This is a new process. It'll come up to be a new local law. We're separating water and sewer. Budgets are budgets for a separate piece of infrastructure and personnel and electric charges and all that on each one. It's much easier for the village to make revenue based on two separate budgets and separate charges. You'll still be getting the same quarterly bill when they're added together. Not too much different from getting an electric and gas bill from your power company. They're just calculated bills, calculated differently for electric and gas, and you add together and you get one bill. You did say that people levy taxes if they haven't paid their quarterly bills. I would want to stress that it's really important in terms of bill processing for the village that people pay their quarterly bills. Levying is more difficult,
Right,
and
that's
they're
why
behind
we're
on
doing
their
it
on the debt
earlier,
costs. Yeah.
so that doesn't happen. I
Yeah.
know last year it came down to an example, somebody came in with a check for $4.25, so it wasn't
Yeah.
taxes. We don't want that,
Right.
so
And in
whatever we
terms
have
of-
to do,
In terms of having your debt service
yes.
ready for when you need to pay it to your loan, you need to have people paying their bills on time. It's a timing thing.
Yeah, the county of Orange will give us the check, but your mortgage rates, or your mortgage payment rather, has gone up because of this.
Yeah.
And now with everything going a little crazy, price of gas, do I pay my water bill, do I put gas in it?
Yeah.
It's a question that I've been asked,
Mhm.
what do you expect us to do?
Yeah.
It's a tough question.
Okay. And then we also make the recommendation that once things are rolling and smooth, maybe not so fast for sewer if you've got a current debt out there, but it's important to start thinking ahead on capital improvement costs. If you know you're going to be needing to replace a pump at one of the wells, you should have a water capital improvement fund where you maybe charge an extra $1 or an extra $2, depending on how much money you need to raise over what time. For each customer, that gets put into a separate capital improvement fund to be used for those purchases, so that more debt doesn't have to be incurred on a regular basis.
And what we have been doing, I've been in conversation with Mike, looking into turning our wastewater plant, new plant, into also a receiving station, which will help pay down the bond
Yeah,
much
then,
quicker.
then you have an income that's not village use. Yeah. As long
I
as
think there's
its
a
capacity
call
is
for that
there.
in this area, so.
Yeah, sure, but septic systems, when they get pumped, where do they go? That sort of a thing. So yeah, I think that's basically the idea. Again, tonight is about the process. The costs that I put up there as examples are examples based on the past budget. If budgets don't change that much in the coming year, then those are going to be about the costs. The big thing is, yes, there is a new debt service charge for the wastewater treatment plant, and costs are going to go up simply based on that. Any other questions?
I don't know, yeah. We're gonna leave the public hearing open, and so our next meeting is January 3rd, which time I'd like to put this on the website. tentative understanding.
Mhm.
January 3rd, we'll close it.
Okay, the next slide has my contact information on it? No, it doesn't. Oh, well, sorry, I thought it did. You can, you know, if you have questions that you can't
I
answer,
will
feel
forward
free to
it
give
to
me
you,
a call or forward them or whatever.
Thank you.
So Joe, for an example, Brotherhood, right? Because I see large retail, medium retail, and then you got the double asterisk, which means for each commercial space. So if Brotherhood has 10 slots, 10 stores, we're talking basically 3 times 10, that'll be 30 units.
It depends on what that parcel is. I believe you have one that's considered distribution, so that's a different, it would be a different number of units.
Well, the bigger haulers over there, yeah, that's why I'm asking, I guess, because I'm just trying to figure it out. So Brotherhood Mall, you have a Chinese restaurant,
Right.
say you have a pizzeria,
Mhm.
you have a dry cleaning business, and then the other stores are a CVS, a post office.
Okay.
So would they be all equally sharing that 3?
It depends
3
on how
units?
their account is set up. Each account covers a couple of those stores. There's the larger supermarket at one end, which is considered large retail.
Right.
Then there's, the accounts are not one for one. So you might have a water account that covers a restaurant, what else is there, an office space or whatever. So whatever uses are on that account, the units go with that.
Yeah. Do they have their
Tom,
own
I'm pretty sure
meters?
that's
I believe they have their own meters, right?
Yeah, they're all at the same age.
Yeah.
So let's say one of the restaurants becomes a shoe store. Obviously, it's not a restaurant anymore, so we have to adjust that
Exactly.
unit
Right.
in there. So
Yeah.
that we get, all that information would, not only, that information would probably come from our building department,
Yes.
not so much the tax assessor.
Yeah, I mean, it could, yeah, I'm just, because what it states is just, doesn't talk about size, and maybe it needs to, when you say large, what's large?
There is a definition.
20,000?
Yeah, there is a definite definition if you look in the RPS system definition. So large retail has a certain square footage. It usually involves a multiple use kind of thing. It might have clothing, it might have a restaurant, it might have, so large retail is one of those usually big, think big box store like Target or a large supermarket.
Right.
And that's the assignment, this large retail 451, 453, or 454.
So you're gonna have the definitions within the law of what these codes
We
are?
have to.
Yeah, because I think that's gonna otherwise confuse the heck out of people.
Or you would refer that, you would reference it. You wouldn't put it
Right.
in yours, because if it changes that, you'd have to.
Not in the local law, but we
Right, you definitely
have to
reference it, where that information is.
Yeah,
It's also on your tax bill. It's on your tax information for each property, what your property class code is. And I have seen some instances in here where it might not have been updated the last time that property was updated. So it would be important to pay attention to that as a property owner
yeah.
and make sure your class code is correct.
Well, that'd be the other thing you can reference, and
And that's
in the
really
law.
what, you know, what we've been doing. We started with rental registry, let's say. Also, from the building department, well, these codes come from the tax assessor, that's
Yeah.
standard.
Mhm.
We have to make sure that at this address, there is a one-family house, and it's not a restaurant.
right, right.
Those kinds of
So there's
changes.
a lot of kind of background work that needs to be,
We
Kinda
really
checked out,
started
right?
it
Yeah.
with the, you know, notion that we were going to go through with this.
yeah.
And in general, you need to keep up those records, but specifically for a system like this, the
Yeah.
that data needs to be kept up to date. Is it commercial, is it residential,
Right.
those kinds of things. And any system where you want to maintain and get revenue in, that data's important.
Yeah, I think too, if you're gonna put something on the website, it might be helpful, you know, like the minimum comparison of now and future proposed, and, you know, whatever the increments could be, so people know what they're kind of using, can have an idea versus trying to calculate it out in their head?
Right, she did it, it's in the report.
Yeah, that one
It
table
is.
on the slide is there, and we
Okay.
also gave,
Is it in here?
No,
it's
Oh,
on the
okay.
slideshow, and he said he's gonna put that on the website. And I
Okay.
had also given Jim, you could add that piece into that, estimates based on how much water you're using.
Yeah, that'd be helpful for the residents.
And again, that's
you
not
did say-
based
you
on
did say in front of
the
the principal
2022
students.
budget, it's based on the 2021.
So we get an
So,
accurate record.
It's not gonna be exactly what you're gonna see paying in 2022, but it's an idea of how the process, the new process would change costs.
And, you know, and at the end of the day, as Joe said, everybody's worried about what that dollar amount's gonna be.
Right.
Is it gas, is it burgers, or am I paying my water?
And Mr. Haggerty has assured us that he will stand in front of the high school every day with the clicker, counting the students, to make sure that we're being told.
I got a blister on here just from doing it today, so I don't know if you're
Oh, no.
So, a question on the high school, how come it doesn't include faculty?
That's something that we talked about, and that's something that could be changed if the comments come back and the board has some
It
comments
says
on that.
students, but we could
Right.
put
Personnel.
students as staff.
Personnel?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there is, I believe at the high school, there's over 100 staff members,
Okay,
so yes, you're
so,
correct.
yeah, that's a good point. Or you lower your per student number to, you know, include the thought that there's so many teachers per 10 students. So I mean, either way, we could do it that way if need be, before you finalize it, we could work with that number.
Yeah, each year that might change.
Well, the number of units per is not gonna change, but how many,
How
don't
many
get that
stu-
many
yeah, how many
points, but,
students are filling that program?
right, that, you might wanna keep up on that every year, yeah.
I think we also discussed the middle school where it's the main cafeteria that cooks.
Yes, that,
That should be different build than the high school because they.
For where?
the middle school
Middle
has the
school?
main kitchen.
And then food goes out from there?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there might be some way to come up with that, to cover for that water meter
And like,
itself.
and also like when you compare like Taft to the high school going, you know, from 8 in the morning, let's say, or 7 o'clock in the morning, till probably sometimes 9, 10 o'clock at night because of events and activities. Whereas Taft, you know, pretty much from 8 to 3, you know, maybe a little bit after a couple of things. But, so it's a big difference in the amount of people using
Right.
the water at the high school than at Taft, and the way the numbers kind of work it out.
Okay, I do have the meterage for all of the all of the parcels. I could look up the school and just see how that would change and
Are we
give you
able
some
to put in
recommendations.
3 different units per building? Let's say Taft is this number,
If they're a different
middle
account,
school,
they have.
because there
to-
are, you know, 3
Yeah.
different days.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. High school is sometimes 7 days a week.
Pool,
The pool, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know it had a pool.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can look at that and, you're gonna meet again on January 3rd?
Yes,
Okay, so I can give you, some options to look at.
okay.
Write that down.
Very good, thank you. Here's your,
Ah, well, but that's got the up-to-date one, if you wanna put that on. That's got the correct date on it. All right, never
thank
mind.
you. All right, so like I said before, we'll keep the public hearing open until January 3rd, at which time, hopefully we take in those questions and we have those answers prior to that. We could close this meeting at that time and move on with the local law. And the local law would take effect in the first quarter of 2022, which I believe is in April. Okay. I think we went through the agenda items, so public comments on agenda items. Okay,
just ask you one before you go.
is it okay if I go on?
Yeah.
Public comments on non-agenda items. Please state your name and.
John Hagerty for Belvoir Drive. At your meeting at the beginning of the month, you had stated how you're gonna clean out the flow between Bull Road and Ahern Drive. You're gonna clean it out. You had stated that at the meeting,
Okay.
which I think is a good idea. But whose land is that? I don't believe that's the village's land. And are we responsible, or is the HOA?
If it's not ours, it's probably the HOA. So, but we own something off the road,
You own the right of way.
and that's what we would be cleaning out. But, I did, Ahern and Bull, you said?
Well, Ahern, Bold, wherever it flooded over there. And the other thing to do with flooding is, they never fixed the spillway on the pond off Ahern, which flooded out when Hudson was there. It broke the spillway, the cement is still there, but it washed out both sides. So the pond doesn't hold as much as it used to hold.
Oh, okay, you're talking about the pond off Ahern.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm just moving along to just answer the first question. So that never got replaced, so that doesn't hold as much, and the spillway's maybe 10 feet wide, whatever it is, but that doesn't mean the water can't be higher than that, and it will hold more water. But it's all washed out, it needs to be replaced. That was brought up a few times. And then the retention pond on the other side of Ahern, further down across from Burn Allen, they haven't cleaned that out in years. That is a retention zone area. They used to cut the grass, pull it out, clean it out, so there was more room for water.
That's the streamway you're talking, the stream.
There's a whole retention pond area over there.
Talking about the big pond that has the.
Not a pond, there is no water in it, it's the whole of the water.
By the dog park?
On the other side of Ahern,
On
the
other
north side. That was always cleaned out years ago, every so often they cleaned it out.
Cattails?
Yeah, it's where all the cattails are, right?
Cattails, everything's in there, they used to clean that out. That's a retention area. If you look on the zoning map, it's a retention basin, they call it.
Okay,
They used to clean that, that hasn't been cleaned in years. So it doesn't hold as much water.
okay.
So one way to stop the water from doing what it's doing, maybe you need to call the Army Corps of Engineers in to help out, or other villages have done that. And let them give you a good plan on what needs to be really done and how it needs to be maintained. Because it used to be done, it was stopped, and now it's way overgrown. They need to go in there with a bulldozer and just lower a foot or two. Drive all that is thrown back in.
Is that filling up with water?
I don't even know, but it is a retention basin, and it,
Yeah, I know.
Not as deep as
Well,
it used to
Part of
be.
the MS4 plan. Be a retention plan.
It would be part of it.
Part of the MS4, all that stuff would be in there. But for all the time, I've never seen that thing ever fill up with water. So it'd be interesting to see what streets are actually dumping onto it.
everything from up the hill comes into that almost.
Yeah, I mean, they'd have to look at the discharges, because I just don't recall what streets took
Well,
it.
we started cleaning out ditch lines.
Are they doing a whole length of the ditch line, or just 20 feet in front of and after the pipe?
Wherever it goes to the pipe, how it's.
Should be the whole length of it. You got that going through by the dog park. They
Oh,
put
yeah.
cement culverts in there,
That whole thing has to be, yes, you're absolutely right. That
That's
whole
full
thing has to
garbage.
be cleaned out.
so it doesn't
Um,
flow, it never goes dry, it used to dry. It doesn't dry because it's not flowing out of the village. It's always there, so you start with water that doesn't need to be there, and then it can't leave. It's
Correct.
stagnant.
And that has to be all cleaned out from Newcastle, let's say,
Yeah.
all the way down past the dog park to the bridge, the footbridge. On the other side of the footbridge, and then New York Rising is supposed to be putting a culvert in '94. And hopefully that's going to alleviate the problems. That's 2 years behind.
I think that's gotta be done by next year, or the money's gone.
Yeah,
And I
there's a
think
date, there's a
they're really
sunset on
close
that,
to
yes.
doing it.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, they're close. I
Uh,
think they even wanted to try this fall, so it might be early spring.
Okay. I know.
I can double check and let
Two
you
summers
know.
ago, but we will know what happened there, so.
Right.
Yeah.
But is that, anybody ever call the Army Corps? I don't even know if they do it anymore. But I believe they did Phoenicia after 2 storms ago.
The Army Corps of Engineer came up in the conversation I had with FEMA last week. I don't know their role in this whole.
They do a lot when they do it. They'll get into everything.
Yeah, but I don't know if if FEMA works with them, or do we just go to Army? I don't know that answer.
Yeah.
I can ask that question tomorrow. Like I said, I have a call tomorrow at 10 o'clock with FEMA.
Because they're engineers.
Yeah.
They'll know exactly what, they'll go look
What
at
I
the map and
found,
say, this needs to
the
be done.
DEC doesn't like to give answers. They just want you to do something, but they don't like to give how to do it, which I understand because we could always go back to them. This is what you told us to do, and nothing was done. But that's a great question.
Even the pond needs to be cleaned out, because that's just the same as, is there catch water, just the same as your storm drains are. And you do clean out the storm drains. So all the silt that comes down that hill and goes into the pond is filling it up, and
We're trying to
Take
get
it away.
actually a company to come in to treat the ponds. The company that provides.
what do you pay them? Because I can talk to them nicely if that's how you want them treated.
The fountains, they're not licensed in New York, so I guess the water in New York is different than the water in Jersey.
It's poison in Europe.
It doesn't make any sense, I think we all know that. But every state has their own laws, and even the Mosquito Joe, I believe, was trying to give us a price for the ponds, and that never came through. They realized that they weren't licensed to do that.
Right.
So, but we are working on it because each year the ponds are getting smaller because of the cattails.
Well, that's why they need to be dug out.
Yeah.
They are retention ponds, they're not
They
natural
are
ponds.
retention ponds, and my understanding, the third retention pond was supposed to be Vern Allen. The park was the third retention. And sometimes we see that,
Yeah,
you know. With Ida, the water was going over the stone wall. And it could be because the culvert wasn't put in the night before.
well, it starts with that little arch. It goes over that at points, I've seen it over
Yeah,
there.
well, there's three archways in there.
The old historic arch.
But then it goes out to one little outlet on the other side of Ahern. It doesn't,
It's a 2-foot pipe.
nothing was ever finished.
Right.
Started, but not finished. And, you know, with Bull Road, we're faced with, we can't keep the sewer in the same area as the water because the code's changed. We're not grandfathered, so we have to do, and that's what the holdup is. I know you didn't ask that question, I figured that was the next one.
No, I
So
don't
we
get
give
it.
you three questions a meeting.
This one's not numbered. Does that count?
We're working.
Okay. What about the comprehensive and zoning plan? Is that done or is that still?
It's not ready for public yet, and, but we are working on that to get it ready for public.
Okay, so that's 2. And the last one is, there was no roads done again this year. I don't think they've been done in 3 years, any pavements?
We paid Decker and Smith and Hayes
Not this year, not last year.
the year before.
19, 18 or 19 was done.
Could be 19.
Okay, so the money that was put every year in the budget, where has that been going since it hasn't been doing the roads?
We haven't been putting money for the roads in the budget.
It was 175,000 in last year's.
No.
No? Okay.
What we're looking at, the village of Washingtonville sends the town of Blooming Grove $1.3 million a year in taxes. So my question is, and I'm sure, jump in for what is wrong, you warmed up the water.
Good.
My question is, we're taking out bonds to pave our roads, and they're using our 1.3 million
Roads
to
are
pave
beautiful.
their roads.
Yeah, they're paved a lot.
That doesn't make any sense, okay?
But they should
That's
be
like,
kicking
you
back
have-
just like every New York gets kicked back in the state, and everybody's kicked back.
It's like you buy a package of hot dogs, and there's 8 hot dogs in there, but they sell packages of 6 for the rolls. That doesn't make any sense. So, it's conversations that we have to have.
All right.
We can't keep bonding things,
I agree, yeah.
okay? And sending money to the town, we live in the town, we get it, all right? What comes back to the village? Now, they've never said no. Last year, they helped out with plowing, okay? This year, we'll help out again with plowing. But other than that, it's a lot of money going.
Yeah, that's minimal.
Yeah. So we are addressing that.
Okay, that's good.
You know, everyone on this board lives in a single-family house. We all pay taxes. We don't want to pay anything. You don't want to pay anything.
I just want to pay my fair share, and that's it.
Well, and that's anything, okay? So these are the questions that we constantly ask each other. You know, what about this? What about this?
All right. I'm glad to see you doing that.
I had some questions, and I had a meeting with Mr. Rieger regarding the recreation fees, and we are in negotiations because I could not find anything per house. Maybe you know offhand.
It was $1,000, and that was in the newspaper that was printed here.
Okay.
I imagine they still have it on the archives in the news, or if he's not giving anything up, or maybe it's even, Tom was around at that time.
Yeah, when we first started, I think it was in the 700 or 800, and then during one of my terms on the board, we upped it to 1,000. And
For recreation.
yeah, it was, yeah, because when we did all the parks, we did all the three areas, at that point, we had already saved over, not saved, but donated from all the homes, it was over $76,000. Well over that, because we were able to do all the parks, and then one of the big last projects was the Woodfield Park, doing the macadam and the skateboard park area and all that equipment. And then we had the skateboard club come down and they set it all up, you know, we did a whole shebang deal. And part of that also was for the playground area. I know the ball field was separate, but at the end of the day. So it was about 1,000, so, you know, there should be, in the recreation fund, if Rieger built those 72 homes, there should be about $70-something thousand.
Well, I can assure you it's not in there.
You would know, you got the budget.
Never got a payment regarding recreation.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Christine, I don't know, like I said, you know, after
We did
2011,
get
everything
sewer
seemed to
connections
disappear.
and water meters, that they came in and picked up a water meter. But the sewer connection, I believe, was 3,000, if I'm not mistaken. But never did I say, gee, this is for recreation.
Right.
Okay. So I will continue to look, hopefully it wasn't flooded out, for that agreement.
Well, the
Hopefully it
county
wasn't
should
a
have a copy of
handshake.
it too, I don't know. And I believe you asked Mr. Rieger for it, has he come across with anything? Or is everything vague and?
Did you ever get back to him?
Well, I can't find anything in the files, okay, and that's what I expected him to say. He threw a number out,
So we
okay,
didn't know there's a number.
but that number came out too quickly. So,
Yeah.
when someone throws a number out right away, and I'm not, look, I'm not doubting him. I'm not doubting, you know, him as a person, him as a business person. But unless we have something to say, no, this was what you agreed upon, okay, I can't hold them to anything.
And it really wasn't, and it wasn't only just for him, it was anybody that was
Well,
building.
yes.
It was village-wide.
Yeah,
That's why, when they redid the house on Maple at the corner of you, that was basically a new house, I brought it up at that time, are they paying
Yeah.
$1,000? Recreation.
yeah.
They may say they kept the footings, but they didn't, that was nowhere near the same footings, of course, in
Yeah, right, they did a pretty good job.
there. Yeah.
So I will continue to look for the agreements that were made back when.
Is anybody in favor with the Orange County Post, the guy that, fits that? It's gotta be in the archives of that, or, because everything here probably flooded.
Well, they say it did. We'll
Right.
see.
Is that they had all about the recreational money, the red light survey, whatever was going on over there, there was a whole bunch of stuff going on over there. It was all reported on.
like I said during the last meeting and the meeting before, you have my word, what has my word? And we will do what has to be done. The village, if the village is owed something, we will collect it.
Right.
Or come up with some type of agreement if we don't have any. I can't say, well, this is what you said. Okay, that doesn't work.
The last I heard of the money being used, it was $12,000 that was left in the fund before they started building again. And it was used to replace the slides and a lot of equipment at the Burn Allen and Wakefield parks. Woodfield. I just want to go to a Wake.
You're thinking, wait for,
Not my own,
I'm
no.
going to shop right now.
You know, we continue to move forward. Maybe it's not as fast as, I know it's not as fast as I want it to be.
Yeah, as long as you get it at any time, if he owes it, he owes it, if you don't, you don't, but I'm pretty sure it's owed.
No, I'm not doubting it. I remember hearing things like that way back, but I never remember hearing an amount. But I'm sure there was an amount.
Right. He wouldn't just say, I'll give you whatever I can per house.
Like I said, but if it comes out too fast, I don't think it's my first rodeo. You know. So, I don't have anything.
I have two things, if I can. I know your conversation with Mr. Rieger's last meeting. I know you guys were talking about the new well, or the well that was, you know, the permanent well. Did he say that it's still there? Because I don't think that was ever discussed.
I saw it on a field trip. I saw two wells.
Which one are we talking about? Because there's a bunch
Okay,
up
yeah.
there.
Well, I know, I'm just, the one that has the quality of good water. And I think that the one that didn't have the best quality, but had a better volume, it was the other one that was gonna be usable, where, and, you know, Artie had probably better knowledge of this, because the pipes were run and then stopped somewhere before it actually got into the recreation area, is what I believe. But, so you're saying that well head is there,
Yes.
accessible? Oh, good, okay, cool. All right.
As a matter of fact, he mentioned he ran a culvert underneath the new street, so we can go from one side of the street to the other,
Okay, good.
right? He said he could pipe it, right?
Was there two wells on that side of the road?
There was two on that
Yeah.
side and then one behind the field house. There's one over there.
Which wasn't that
Yeah, I heard that one wasn't nice,
good
yeah,
enough to water the lawn?
But there's two up
the field.
the hill where you're mentioning.
right, and one had better gallonage, but the water quality was not great. And my second thing is the discussion about my property line and the right